Welcome to session 5 of our anxiety management course. In the previous session, we discussed a number of unhelpful behaviours that are associated with anxiety and ways of overcoming those. At the end of the last session, we encouraged you to look at your own unhelpful behaviours. If you managed to use some of the strategies discussed in the previous session to tackle your unhelpful behaviours, that's great. If you didn't manage to do this, make this your goal for next week. It is never too late to start. In this session, we will talk about panic. We will explore what a panic attack is, who gets panic, how do we react to panic, and how can we overcome it. So what is a panic attack? A panic attack is a sudden rush of intense feelings and changes in the body. Symptoms of panic attack are similar to symptoms of anxiety, except they are more intense. Panic can be very frightening as it happens suddenly and often for no clear reason. There are 3 types of panic. The first type of panic is the panic you can predict as it happens in particular situations. For example, panic occurring in a busy social situation, during public speaking, or in a car accident. The second type of panic is out of the blue panic, which cannot be predicted as it happens when there is no obvious immediate threat. The third type is nighttime panic. If your brain is on high alert at night, you might be experiencing panic as a result of this. So how people describe panic? I am so scared that another panic hits me. I thought I was going to die when I had the last one. I am not afraid to do things, but I am afraid of how my mind will handle the stress, so I end up avoiding things I used to love to do. It doesn't always happen when I'm actively thinking about it, but will creep up on me when I'm focused on something else, kind of out of the blue. I go through each day with the dread that I might panic. I had a panic last week and I was rooted to the spot. I couldn't move. I was like a rabbit caught in a car's headlights. If you suffer from panic attacks, you might feel like you're the only one experiencing it. You might find it reassuring to know that panic is quite common. In fact, 1 in 3 people will experience at least one panic attack at some point in their life. Many people recover from panic with no need for treatment, or if treatment is required, it is usually short and often successful. It might be quite difficult to determine the exact reason behind why one person is more likely to experience panic than the other. It could be down to someone's unique genetic makeup, as well as their unique background and life experiences. Stressful life events, such as problems at work, family breakdown, or difficult illness can all make you more vulnerable to panic. Panic is also more common among people who suffer from anxiety, depression, phobias, and sleep problems. So, what triggers a panic attack? We might experience panic if we perceive a situation we find ourselves in as threatening. Imagine doing the weekly shopping in a supermarket and feeling yourself getting more and more anxious. You get scared of what is happening to your body and think you will not be able to do your shopping as something bad might happen to you. You see the situation and your bodily symptoms as threatening, which causes you to panic. You don't have to be actively doing anything to experience panic. Upsetting and anxiety-provoking thoughts, images, and memories can all lead to a panic attack. In the session 2, we talked in detail about the role of the fight or flight response in anxiety. The same fight or flight response gets activated when we are in panic. Let's recap what we have said in session 2. When we think we're in danger, our bodies go through a series of changes called the fight or flight response. Importantly, our mind does not see a difference between a physical danger, like an escaped bear, and a psychological danger, like doing your weekly shopping in a busy supermarket. As a result, the response gets activated when we are in danger, but also when we only think we are in danger. The bodily changes that occur as a result of the fight or flight response occur to help us to fight or run away from the bear. However, the same bodily changes can be quite unhelpful when you're shopping in a busy supermarket or speaking in front of a large audience. Heart palpitations, rapid breathing, chest pain, feeling of choking, feeling unreal, dizziness, blurry vision, sweating, hot flashes, numbness, pins and needles, nausea, dry mouth, and shakiness. They all can be side effects of the fight or flight response. It is important to remember that there is no need to worry about our bodily symptoms when we experience panic. They are part of an automatic response, and they can be useful when we have to face a physical danger. When we experience panic, we might also notice some changes to our thoughts, behaviors, and feelings. When we are in panic, we are likely to experience fear of everything and anything. We might be afraid of having a heart attack. We might be afraid of fainting. We might be afraid of doing something stupid. We might be afraid of losing control. We might believe that something bad is going to happen. We might also be scared of having another panic attack. When we are in panic, our thoughts are likely to fall under unhelpful thinking patterns. When in panic, we are more likely to jump to conclusions, which means we might make predictions about what is going to happen in the future based on very little information. For example, you might think, my heart is pounding, I must be having a heart attack. Or, I feel terrible, I must be getting seriously ill. Or, I feel dizzy, I will faint in a minute. It is important to remember that our thoughts are not always based on facts and might simply be not true. When in panic, we also tend to catastrophize. You might say to yourself, I will definitely have a panic attack if I go shopping at the weekend. Or, if I have another panic attack, I won't be able to cope. Or, next time I have a panic attack, I might die. It can be helpful to be aware of a number of facts about our body in order to challenge our unhelpful thoughts. For example, it can be useful to remember that fainting is very often caused by a sudden, significant drop in our blood pressure, whereas in panic our blood pressure rises, making fainting very unlikely. It can also be helpful to recognize the difference between a panic attack and a heart attack. The main difference between those two conditions is that during a heart attack you may experience a crushing feeling as if someone was standing on your chest, whereas when you experience panic, any pain is usually described as sharp. During a heart attack, the pain is usually felt in the center of your chest and may extend to your left arm, neck, and back. In panic, pain tends to be felt over the heart. In the case of a heart attack, any pain is persistent and lasts longer than 5 to 10 minutes. However, in panic, pain usually disappears within 5 to 10 minutes. When you experience a heart attack, tingling might be present in the left arm. In panic, tingling is usually present all over the body. Vomiting is common when you're going through a heart attack, whereas in panic, while you may feel sick, vomiting is uncommon. Finally, a heart attack does not cause you to breathe more quickly, whereas panic does. It can be helpful to bear in mind that while panic attacks can be very stressful and exhausting, they are by no means dangerous. They will cause you no harm. Panic can also affect our behavior. When we experience panic, we might be avoiding certain places and situations, being less active, or not leaving the house on our own. We might visit our GP or emergency services more often than usual. We might also carry our medication and mobile phones everywhere we go. We might find it hard to sit still, and we might snap at people. We might start drinking and smoking more. When we experience panic, we often become anxious about it. We might become embarrassed, frustrated, fed up, and hopeless. We might also feel unreal and detached. So far, we have learned more about the nature of panic and its symptoms. Let's see what keeps panic going. On the screen, you can see an example of a vicious circle of panic. John is afraid he might have another panic attack. He believes that when this happens, he will not be able to cope by himself. When he thinks about it, he notices his breathing becoming quicker and he starts sweating excessively. He decides to stay in the house and he makes sure his phone is charged just in case he needs to call for help. He feels anxious and panicky and it gets worse with every minute. He gets really scared. It seems that John's unhelpful thoughts, as well as his unhelpful behaviours, keep his circle of panic going. Let's look at another example. Julia notices that her breathing is unusually shallow and she starts worrying that something must be wrong. She thinks she's not getting enough oxygen. Her breathing becomes quick and uneven, and now she can also feel her strong heartbeat. Julia becomes dizzy. She decides to call a doctor. She feels really panicky and struggles with making the call. When the doctor tells her that her symptoms remind him of panic, and if that's the case, she will be okay. She feels embarrassed. She becomes anxious about the next time she feels like this. Julia is not too sure what to do to stop her circle of panic. At this point of our course, you might want to look at the worksheet 5.1, which you will find on our website. Worksheet 5.1 encourages you to draw out your own circle of panic. Now, we want to look at things you could do to break your own vicious circle of panic. We will start from exploring the connection between breathing and panic. While most of us never give breathing a second thought, the way we breathe can have a huge impact on our mental and physical well-being. The way we breathe changes depending on what we do and how much oxygen we need. When we sit down in front of the TV, relaxing after work, our breathing is usually nice and calm. This allows us to breathe in just the right amount of oxygen into our body. When we play football, our breathing becomes significantly quicker, allowing us to take in more oxygen. This is important as when we are active, our body uses up more oxygen than when we are at rest. Importantly, while oxygen is important to our body, carbon dioxide is as vital. When we breathe, we inhale oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide. For our body to function well, we need a balance of those two gases in our body. So what happens to our breathing when we experience panic? In panic, our breathing often becomes irregular, shallow, and too quick. If that's the case, we are breathing too quickly for our needs. As a result, we breathe in more oxygen than our body needs and breathe out more carbon dioxide that we can afford to lose. That leads to imbalance between oxygen and carbon dioxide in our body, which is called hyperventilation. Too much oxygen in the blood makes the blood sticky, which makes it harder for the heart to pump the blood around the body. As a result, less blood reaches your brain, and while it is not dangerous, it causes many symptoms of panic, including palpitations, wheezing, tinnitus, sweating, dizziness, lightheadedness, and general weakness. Importantly, hyperventilation not only can cause a number of uncomfortable, frightening physical symptoms, but can also keep panic going by enhancing our already intense feelings of anxiety. Over the next few slides, we will talk about ways to deal with panic and how to decrease the chances of hyperventilation. So what is it that you can do when you experience panic? There are 6 rules you might want to follow. Rule number 1 is grounding. When you feel the panic coming on, stand your ground and don't let the panic make you run away. You don't have to leave the room, take a taxi home, or go to a doctor. Using the strategies we're about to discuss, you can deal with panic in any situation. Rule number 2 is slowing down your breathing. Slow, rhythmic breathing will help you to regulate the flow of oxygen and carbon dioxide in your body. It will stop you from hyperventilating and will tune down unpleasant physical symptoms of anxiety you might be experiencing. Remember that you can slow down your breathing at any place, at any time. A technique to help you slow down your breathing is called controlled breathing. Controlled breathing is a skill that might feel a bit unnatural at first and something that does not come easy. You may choose to practice controlled breathing when lying down, as it can make the practice a little bit easier. After some time and practice, you should be able to do it in any position at any time or place. Aim to practice twice a day. In fact, try to pay attention to your breathing wherever you are. If you notice your breathing is a bit quick or irregular, use the controlled breathing technique. Let's have a look at the slide showing how helpful the controlled breathing technique can be when it comes to panic management. If you would like to practice controlled breathing technique using an audio recording, then this is available to download from our website. As we see on the diagram, controlled breathing means that we maintain correct levels of oxygen in the body, which in turn means that the physical symptoms we experience become less unpleasant. When we use the controlled breathing technique to manage our panic, we are more likely to feel in control and think in a helpful way. You might want to say to yourself, I know why I feel this way. It isn't pleasant, but I can manage this. To sum up, controlled breathing can be a very powerful tool when it comes to overcoming your panic. Rule number 3, relax your body. Another useful technique that can help with tension and aches in your body is called a progressive muscular relaxation. Muscular relaxation helps you to relax your body and feel less tense. Importantly, when your body feels relaxed, you're less likely to panic. In order to fully benefit from the breathing and relaxation techniques, you need to practice using them. Consider practicing controlled breathing and progressive muscular relaxation using a relaxation audio file that can be downloaded from our website. Rule number 4 is using your knowledge. Say to yourself, I'm having a panic attack. It makes me feel anxious, but it can't hurt me. My body is preparing to fight or flee, and that's okay. I know what I can do to cope, and I know it will not last forever. Rule number 5 is being realistic. Think about the thought-challenging techniques we discussed in session 3. Use them when you feel panicky. You can start from identifying and labeling your thoughts. What is going through my head? Am I catastrophizing? Am I jumping to conclusions? Challenge your thoughts. What's the evidence for and against my thoughts? You can use the following questions to help you challenge your thoughts. What's most likely going to happen? Did it happen before? Why would it happen now? How can I cope if the worst happens? What would I tell my friend in the same position? Can I think of a more realistic thought? Rule number 6 is distracting yourself. If you find it difficult to challenge your thoughts, you might want to distract yourself by paying attention to what goes on around you, what you can see, smell and hear, as well as looking at who is around you and what they are doing. You might also want to imagine yourself on a holiday, enjoying the sun's warmth on your skin and the sand on your toes. Spend at least 3 to 4 minutes thinking about those things. At this point of our course, you might wish to look at the worksheet 5.2, which you will find on our website. Worksheet 5.2 encourages you to reflect on your own thoughts and beliefs that might cross your mind when you experience a panic attack. Try to challenge them. What else can you do to manage panic better? In the previous session, we talked about a range of unhelpful behaviors associated with anxiety. Some of the unhelpful behaviors that might occur in panic include always carrying diazepam, leaving the house only with another person, avoiding places that might trigger panic, avoiding stressful situations, and avoiding exercise. If you continue those behaviors, you're likely to think that you're out of control and you need something or someone to be okay. Try to gradually reduce those unhelpful behaviors or drop them altogether. If you don't know where to start and how to tackle them, refresh your knowledge on how to deal with unhelpful behaviors by going back to session 5. There are also some general rules that can help you to prevent panic. Firstly, if you have been sitting down for a while, rather than suddenly standing up, get out of the chair slowly. If you have been lying in bed for a while, try not to jump out. That swimming feeling you might experience after a sudden movement can trigger anxiety and lead to panic. Secondly, make sure you get enough rest and eat well. Panic is more likely to happen when you're tired or ill. Try not to skip meals. If you don't eat on a regular basis, your sugar levels drop, which makes you more likely to panic. Also, think about changes you could make to your lifestyle. Drinking alcohol or high caffeine intake can make your anxiety worse. Finally, remember that it is very important to be able to manage your stress. Try to manage your time well, leaving some space for your friends and family. Try not to do too many things at once. It is okay to pause and relax from time to time. You might also want to reconsider joining the gym. Exercise makes us feel more confident and relaxed. At the end of this session, we would encourage you to make use of a panic diary that you can find on our website. A panic diary will allow you to become better at identifying and challenging your unhelpful thoughts and behaviors when in panic. We would also advise you to keep practicing the relaxation techniques. They can be very useful skills to have when you're trying to manage panic.